Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Panasonic Lumix S 35mm f1.8 for L mount. 35mm f1.8 is an essential lens in every system. Panasonic has introduced this one back in 2021 and it is one of the most popular L mount lenses. Importantly, Panasonic offers it at a very reasonable price point by first-party standards. In this video, we will take a look at how it performs with Panasonic S5 II, and I will try to help you decide whether you should consider getting one. 35mm is a very versatile and neutral focal length. It offers a good balance between wide-ish field of view and emphasis on the subject. It is useful for anything from landscapes and cities to environmental portraits and even product photography. It is also the most popular focal length for street and reportage photography. F1.8 aperture offers notable subject separation even at 35mm and it makes it very suitable for low-light shooting. 35mm Lumix S is 8.2 cm long and it weighs 295 grams. It is not the smallest 35mm 1.8 out there, but it is definitely a compact and very travel-friendly lens. The size in combination with the focal length also makes it an ideal walk-around lens. Mounted on the S5 II, it is very well balanced as expected. The build quality is very solid, much like with other Lumix S lenses. The outer part is made of plastics, but the quality of the materials is above average, maybe even premium. It is weather sealed with a proper weather sealing gasket around the mount. The mount is metal, of course. 35mm Lumix S uses standard 67mm filter thread. This is a very popular diameter, so chances are that you already have some 67mm filters. If not, they are very easy to get. I have tested it with various freewell filters, including variable ND filter, and it worked with no issues. High quality lens hood is included in the box. The size is okay for a 35mm lens, and I appreciate that it has a proper release button. Regarding the control elements, there is the focusing ring and AF/MF switch. The focusing ring is extremely smooth as expected from a focus-by-wire system, and it has a very reasonable amount of resistance. The focusing ring is wide enough and it offers very good grip. On Lumix S cameras, you can choose between linear and non-linear focusing and adjust the angle, which is something that I appreciate a lot. Repeated focus pulls are not an issue at all. There is also an AF/MF switch on the left side, which is nice to see, despite that there is one on all Lumix S cameras. So how about the optical qualities? I have decided to test this lens with a 24-megapixel sensor because that is what the S5 II uses, and that is the most relevant Panasonic L-mount camera at the moment. I have tested it with the original S5 because the Lightroom wasn't compatible with S5 II RAWs when I was testing this lens. The image quality is interchangeable though. The central sharpness at f1.8 is great. This is as much as a 24-megapixel sensor can render on this scene. There is some amount of chromatic aberration, but nothing major. The only difference at f2 is less chromatic aberration. f2.8, 4, 5.6 and 8 look pretty much the same. As usual, the contrast decreases at f11 due to diffraction, but it is still perfectly usable. Much like in the center, the resolution at f1.8 is as good as it gets with a 24-megapixel sensor. There is also some chromatic aberration, but this amount is perfectly acceptable. The contrast may be slightly better at f2, but the difference is very minor. You may also notice that the corners are significantly darker at f1.8 and f2, we will get to that later. f2.8 to f8 looks pretty much the same, so very good sharpness and contrast. There is very little diffraction at f11. Overall, I am very happy with the optical qualities in combination with a 24-megapixel sensor. Rendering this kind of resolution is a very easy job for this lens. The sharpness is maximal basically at any aperture from f1.8 to f11 across the frame. There are just minor differences in contrast and chromatic aberration throughout the aperture range. It shoots very nice real-world images in combination with the Panasonic S5 II. It works really well with S5 II color output, which is highly saturated with a lot of contrast if you use standard picture style. Overall, it produces very nice pictures and video. The amount of distortion is pretty high for this type of lens, especially when we consider that this is not the smallest 35-1.8 out there. Fortunately, the profile corrections will take care of that, and there doesn't seem to be any significant difference of image quality caused by the corrections. There is also some amount of vignetting at f1.8 and f2, which is visible after the corrections, so we might want to correct it manually. The minimum focus distance is 24 cm, which translates to 0.22 times magnification. That is a solid value for this type of lens. The resolution at minimum focus distance is solid right from f1.8, but you will probably want to stop down a bit to avoid chromatic aberration. Overall, it is a pretty solid semi-macro lens. At f1.8 you can achieve decent subject separation even at relatively wide 35mm focal length. It has 9 aperture blades and the bokeh is, in my opinion, above average for this type of lens. The transitions between areas in focus and out of focus are reasonably smooth as well. I can say that I am happy with the bokeh. The autofocus works really well in combination with the S5 II. In stills mode, it seems to be the fastest out of the lenses that I have tested so far. It is very responsive and there is very little lag, unlike with some other lenses that I have tested with the S5 II. The focusing is always 100% accurate and there is no hunting. In video, it is pretty much perfect. It is very accurate and there is no hunting either. It works great in all of my usual tests, including backlit subjects and low light. The speed and the responsiveness can be adjusted in the menu. The focus motor is completely silent, much like with all other Lumix S lenses that I have tested so far. Overall, the focusing system is great in combination with the S5 II. There is some amount of focus breathing, but the amount is pretty low and better than average for this type of lens. Lumix S lenses, including this one, are generally well optimized for video. This optimization includes low amount of focus breathing, autofocus motor tuning and silent run and so on. I have used it for video a lot on the S5 II and I am very happy with the video performance. This lens is not stabilized, but the S5 II IBIS is very effective at this kind of focal lengths. Static shots and pointing the camera around is very stable. As you might have seen in my A7 IV versus S5 II IBIS comparison, the S5 II is optimized for walking at longer focal lengths. If walking with a 35mm lens is your thing, this combination will give you the best possible results. To sum up, Panasonic Lumix S 35mm F1.8 is a very good and versatile lens. It does everything that I expect from a first-party 35mm F1.8. Optical qualities are more than good enough for 24MP sensor. That isn't really a challenge for this lens. The bokeh and optical character is very nice as well. The autofocus works very well in combination with the S5 II. The build quality is completely fine. The only minor complaint that I have are darker corners at f1.8 and f2, but it is not a big deal. It can be easily corrected. The price is very reasonable for a first-party 35-1.8. It seems that Leica likes it as well. All in all, it is a very solid 35mm f1.8, which means that I can recommend it to L-mount users. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.